Okay, today we're going to look at properties. So the directions say determine if the two expressions are equivalent. Remember, equivalent means equal. If they are, you're going to tell what property it is. If not, explain why. So first we're going to fill out this part, and then I'm going to give you some examples. So commutative property is the order in which two numbers are added or multiplied does not change the sum or product. So here's an example of that. 7 plus 9 is the same thing as 9 plus 7. And 4 times 6 is the same thing as 6 times 4. Remember, these little dots also mean multiplication. You can also write it with variables. So A plus B equals the same thing as B plus A. Associative properties, the way in which three numbers are grouped when they are added or multiplied does not change their sum or product. So again, we're dealing with multiplication and addition, and properties only work when you have multiplication and addition. When you get into subtraction, division, they do not work. So associative property means we're grouping things. That means we're using parentheses. So I use my parentheses to group those, and I can just change where I put my parentheses, and that will mean the same exact thing. Same thing. Now, if you are multiplying, it would equal the same thing no matter how you change your parentheses. You have three numbers in parentheses. They have to be the same three numbers, though. Identity property. The sum of an addend and 0 is the addend. And the product of a factor and 1 is the factor. That just means when we're adding, anything we add plus 0 is going to be that number. And then when we're multiplying, any number times 1 is that original number. Okay, and again, if you look down here, properties only work with addition and multiplication, not division and subtraction. So we're going to go over here and we're going to do some examples, and we're going to use these directions that we read earlier. So my first one is going to be 15 plus, in parentheses, 5 plus 8, and 15 plus 5, in parentheses, plus 8. Now, they have a grouping, and we have to determine if the expressions are equivalent. I think they're equivalent, and if so, tell what property. So they are equivalent, and it is the associative property because we're grouping three numbers together. So that's our first one. Here's our next one. 20 minus 12 in parentheses minus 3, and 20 minus, in parentheses, 12 minus 3. Now remember at the bottom of the paper it says it does not work with division and subtraction. This is subtraction, so no. Not equivalent. And equal signs with a slash means not equivalent because of subtraction. Okay, next one, 34 plus 0 and 34. Okay, these ones are equivalent. And this is the identity property because the identity property states the sum of an addend and 0 is the addend. Our next one is 20 divided by 5 and 5 divided by 20. This is not equivalent because remember the bottom of the page says it doesn't work on division. So no, not equivalent because division. Next one we have 5 times, in parentheses, 6 times 3. And in parentheses, 5 times 6. And then times 3. This one is equivalent, and remember we're grouping, so it looks very similar to this one. So equivalent, and we're going to write Associative property because that's 3 and we're grouping things with parentheses. Next one, 27 divided by 3 and 3 divided by 27. Okay, again, this is not equivalent because we're dividing. Remember, it does not work with division. And our last one, we have 12 plus 3 and 3 plus 12. This is equivalent, and it's the commutative property. Because it says the order in which two numbers are added does not change the sum or product.